everyone, it's Mary. Welcome back to the Live Well channel. I'm so glad you're joining us for today's conversation. Before we get into that, as always, doing the YouTube-y obligatory thing, if you like content from this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that we don't miss seeing you and you don't miss anything that we upload. Also, there is a like button if you like this particular video and a bell that you can get notified when we upload future content. So, what are we talking about today? Well, we're pretty much talking about my new mantra for living, and that is prioritizing your own well-being and yourself before you're able to really show up in the way that you want to for everyone else and everything else on your plate. We have an incredible guest today. Rochelle Hemingway is joining us. She has so many nuggets of information, and wait till you hear the additional pillars of wellness that she shares with us. It's so good. Let's get into it. All right, everybody. So excited to talk about this. If you've been hanging out with me for any period of time, you know that this topic is just like the thing. And so I'm very excited to have our guest here today with us. Rochelle Hemingway is joining us. She is a 30-year Air Force veteran, Chief Master Sergeant, retired. She is also the founder, the CEO, the president, the everything of Slay to Success. She's a transformational speaker, but I don't want to steal all her thunder. So I'm going to have Rochelle introduce herself to all of you. Over to you, Rochelle.
Thank you, Mary. Loving the energy, loving the opportunity. My name is Rochelle Hemingway. I'm affectionately called the Slay Queen. I am the CEO and founder of Slay to Success. And it is a transformational speaker, coach, mindset, community that I have built over some time. But my passion purpose statement, which I will share with you all, is really how I've been able to create a movement and ministry. And it is my mission. So my purpose is to use my self-discipline and my bold leadership skills to help empower others to face their fears and insecurities by using basic life and leadership philosophies, aka SLAY, which stand for S, stay ready to be ready, L, lead out loud, a sense of community, a sense of family, and Y, you are built to last without sacrificing your health, career opportunities, relationships, or happiness based on my 30-year military career experience in the United States Air Force. And so that is just a little bit about who I am and what I'm doing right now. I am married, and we have a 12-year-old son, and we live and reside here in Maryland, where Mary's at.
Okay, just so folks know, we're not that close. I had Todd Simmons on here, and we were 17 miles away. So we're at least a 40-minute drive away. So
at least
that's why we're zooming.
Yeah.
But no, that's awesome. Thanks so much, Rochelle. I'm so glad you're here. I linked up with Rochelle, I would want to say at least a year ago now, because a friend of mine, a mutual friend of ours, linked me to your group. And as soon as I jumped in that group on Facebook, I was like, yeah, my vibe. This is my vibe. Like, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm going. And so that really is, everything you just shared is totally what you emulate. And it's what you embody, and your encouragement for other women is just like no other. So, I mean, that people really need to know that about you. You are constantly lifting others up. I feel like you live by my mantra of life is no candle ever lost its flame by lighting another candle. And I swear you're the candle. So so truly, thank you for that. You listed off quite a bit about, what you're doing, what you find yourself doing and stepping into post-retirement. What are some of those things that you juggle in life on a daily basis? And then how do you manage to you mentioned putting yourself first without sacrificing your own wellness? What do you tell yourself with all the things that you're trying to figure out in life? How you keep doing that, putting yourself first?
Well, it took me some time to kind of really figure it out. But I really saw myself in different ways of kind of the neglect. I was neglecting myself in many ways, and it was showing up in my marriage. It was showing up in my health and at work, and I wasn't as happy as I would like to be. And so I had this kind of revelation, if you will, of you need to take care of yourself. You really need to be intentional and deliberate about taking care of you. You are putting the hats on all day, every day, different types of hats. And at the end of the day, when you're either crying in your pillow or screaming out loud in your closet, which I have done multiple times, I saw that I really needed to concentrate and focus on what are those things that are going to help me, bring me more joy, help me to be in flow and ease, help me to be less anxious and frustrated. So, one of the things that I truly connect with is the movement of my body. So, I work out every day. If anyone follows me, they know this about me. But it's not just about how I feel like on the outside or how I look on the outside. It's about the inside, and how then can I translate that out in my everyday life? And so, I found the thing for me. And I think that's important for, anyone who is really on this journey of, I just can't figure out what I even want to do. Like, I don't even know what even brings me joy, And so, I really hung on to, okay, well, this is it. And I've been working out consistently for over 25 years. And I have been able to accomplish a lot of things that I wanted to do, not necessarily what other people wanted me to do. I define my own success and then, build off of that. And then now I'm in this season of life of overflow where now I can help others. And I'm very excited about it because I did the inner work. And I think that's most important. As you know, it's most important.
Yeah, and the word you used that really hits home for me is you had this revelation. Mm-hmm. And there really was like a light switch of some sort. And what I'm grateful for when that light switch came on is that my eyes were open. Because my eyes could have still been closed and I couldn't have noticed when, I was being told, hey, listen, pay attention to this message. So I'm really grateful for that. And I think that, when you mention, physical fitness being something that is so very important to you in your journey of the inner work, I think that's a really important piece to bring up because it could be different for everybody. It could be like, I know holistically, like this channel is called Live Well because that is vast. Like there's so many aspects to that: physical, spiritual, emotional, social, financial. Like there's so many things to that. And I think what's that one thing that gives you that inner drive? It could be different, but overflowing into the other areas. Is that makes sense?
Absolutely. Like I call it the transmutation or the transporting of transferable skills.
Yes.
So if I am in my workout and I do like high intensity interval training and it's challenging, and a lot of times I don't achieve what the instructor is doing. I strive to, but knowing, hey, that was hard. And that was something that they probably did on purpose, and so now when I leave from that space, then the task or, the maybe the plans that I have, I then know that it may be challenging. How do I work through that? So it really is about finding what works for you. And everybody's on their own path of success, their own path, their journey, if you will. I used to see other people and go, oh, I want to do that, right? And I start comparing myself of where they were at. And that's just exhausting. It's physically and mentally exhausting.
Yeah,
So
and it's so unreasonable. Like,
it
why do
is.
we do that? Because just the dynamics of their existence compared to your own, it's not, you can't compare. It's completely different. So it's just such an unreasonable thing that we do to ourselves, to assume that we've lived parallel lives, that we can make this comparison, you know? No,
Yeah.
I think that's so true. And comparison to me is just the thief of joy. Like, you just, you know, you're missing out on all the great accomplishments and the wins that you need to give yourself, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
So oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, because I think this is something that a lot of people can relate to, is some of the barriers to us having this revelation, for us to figure out what it is that means enough to us to make it a non-negotiable. Like, what's the barrier that's in front of us, do you think, from getting us over it to finding that for ourselves?
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I would say the first thing is self-sabotage. You know, we tell ourselves pretty much lies, if you will. It's the stories that we tell ourselves that we believe in. Maybe something that has happened, you know, as we were growing up, and we hang on to that and we believe that, you know, so we don't think that we're good enough. We don't think that we're capable. We don't think that we're, you know, sometimes have the skill set to really do what it is that we deep down in our belly, we know that we desire. So we just talk ourselves out of it, you know, so I think that's one. Another is, you know, I'm a recovery people pleaser. I would always get, you know, asked, and my answer was always yes. Yes, I will do. And after a while, I saw that I really couldn't do all the yeses, you know, and there was plenty of times where I wanted to say no, but I didn't know how to say no. So I just default to yes. So I think that's another barrier in itself. Another is we like to change, or we want to change other people's views about ourselves. We go through to extreme measures. We change the way we talk, we change the way we dress, we change a lot of things to fit what other people's view or what they want us to be, their perception of ourselves. So then we do that, and then you find yourself thinking, well, I don't even know who I am. I don't even know why I even chose to do this. So there's so many barriers that we just have to sit down after a while and really talk to ourselves about what it is that we're doing and if it is serving us well. If it's not, you know?
Yes, so spot on. I think you starting off with the self-sabotage, I was kind of like, well, we could probably just end that right here, because that's like the majority, I think. I mean, who do you hear most of the day? Yourself. Like, you and the crazy thing is, you have the ability to control what you tell yourself. I did not know that. Like, I don't know why, it just seems so simple now, but I did not know that. And I started really, I don't know how it's going to sound, but it's me, but I started really having conversations with myself. And there comes things like old habits start creeping in. I'm like, Mary, we don't do that anymore.
Right.
Like, and I really started this narrative of like, I'm my best friend. I encourage myself first before anyone. I give myself grace before anyone. Like, I am the nicest person to me. I denounce the phrase, I'm my own worst critic, because I'm not. Like, right. I'm my best friend. So that one to start off with is huge, because I think that originates from our upbringing, our cultures, the things that society has deemed normal.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really, that kind of fosters that self-sabotage. Like
Absolutely.
You don't, right? Like you don't care enough about your success or yourself if you're not beating yourself up.
Yeah, like I had to discover that I am are the two most powerful words that you can use to speak to yourself. And, you know, I speak to myself a lot too. And I usually tell people, don't mind me. I'm having my own staff meeting over here. All right. I'm trying to figure this out. You know, and so if we don't speak to ourselves, you know, because we are our worst enemy, we are our worst critic. If we don't speak the positivity to uplift us and, you know, move us into the direction of new, I guess, newness or, you know, opportunity to be in a different level. Like I love operating in the high vibrancy level, you know, like I don't have patience or even tolerance anymore for low vibration. And so when you are in this high vibration or this high frequency, it's so much more easier because you're not distracted, you know, by well, I can't do this. I should have, you know, people live in regret a lot of time. And because they saw an opportunity or they saw a different way and they decided to do something else. And so, you know, we have to be able to talk ourselves up. We have to be our biggest champion. We have to be our biggest advocate, cheerleader, you know, all those different people that, you know, kind of get us going. You have to be your own person. So what are you telling yourself?
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, that's spot on. And I can't stress it enough that, you know, no one else is controlling or hearing what you say to yourself. So even if you don't feel comfortable yet saying out loud, I'm going to kill this. I'm going to slay it. Like
I'm going to slay it. That's all you got to say.
Even if you don't feel comfortable saying that out loud, say that in your head.
Yes, all day.
You know, absolutely. And you said I am two of the most powerful words. Couldn't agree more. And in fact, in the both the negative and the positive, you know, when you proclaim I am and you attach a negative connotation to that, I even tell, you know, my 13-year-old daughter, sometimes she says, I am horrible at this. I'm like, we don't do that. Let's talk about that. Right. You know, because you're affirming something just as you would be. And what we encourage is affirmation in the positive side, you know?
Yes.
And one thing too, Rochelle, I don't know if like, I never wanted to feel like I was lying to myself during affirmations. So I would make a point to affirm something that is a fact that was moving me in that healthier direction. So instead of saying, you know, I am hugely successful in my endeavors, maybe I didn't feel that yet. I would say, I am giving my best effort towards my future success. So I feel like that was more, you know, so that's another thing I just want to encourage our listeners is, you know, if you don't make yourself feel like a fraud, but step into the affirmation of the place you're trying to go. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It has to be personal. I think we, you know, have a tendency to look at all the affirmations are out there and we just take 10 of them and write them all out, but they are not resonating with you. You're really not moving. You're just saying and being hopeful. But and you can change, you know, you can start with, hey, here's some standard affirmations that are out there. And then you can modify it to what's going on in your life right now. And how do you want to see yourself moving? So I totally understand what you're talking about.
No, that's perfect. I love it. Has to be personal. So let's go back to which I think a lot of people, I know a lot of men that have difficulties with people pleasing as well, but I do, and it could be my circle's large in women, you know, like with women. So I know a lot of women suffer from this affliction. Of having not being able to say no and the fear attached with that, you know, what's something you can say for someone who is trying to separate, trying to step into that comfort of others' perceptions of, of them saying no. What wrath am I going to meet by saying no? Like, what can you say to encourage people?
Well, we have to reframe the way that we say no. So, I talk to a lot of women about communicating and using words that you can stand firmly behind and mean what you say, right? So, for example, if someone emails you and says, "Hey, you're at work, I've got this task, that I need you to complete. It's going to be great for you. It's going to look good on your evals," because we've all seen those types of emails or had those conversations with maybe our bosses or our supervisors. Mm-hmm. And, I would share, a response like, "Thank you for the opportunity. I'm so grateful that you thought of me. However, I have, 2, 3, whatever the tasks are, that I am working on, and here are my deadlines for those tasks. If this task or project or whatnot is, something that is not immediate, or there's not a suspense or a timeline on it. Here are some dates, here is some, or maybe other people that I know in my network who would love the opportunity." We have to be able to respond in a way that's not only, grateful, but also as, "Hey, this is what I got going on. This is what, truly, I can't take on one more thing. I really can't." And the boundaries have to be set. We have to create the healthy boundaries, because if we say yes to everything, when we say no, it doesn't mean anything.
Right,
it'll still press you.
Absolutely. And you also have to understand other people don't know what's on your plate. Only you know that. And so I don't necessarily point the blame to other people if they're asking of us. People are always going to ask of us. That's just how we function as a society.
Absolutely.
But if someone clearly says to me, like even inviting you to come speak with us, if whatever you say is what you can work within, I'm like, totally great. Like, that's fine. Right. That's an internal pressure a lot of us have been putting on ourselves, is the pressure to deliver right now, here and there, and show up when the other person might not even, that's not even an expectation, So I think that's a really key.
We don't want to look bad. And we don't want anyone to see our shortcomings. Mm-hmm. We don't want anybody to think that we can't handle and juggle. Believe in me. I know many of us are multitaskers, and we can run circles around, some individuals in our workplace environment. But at the same time, you don't want to run yourself into the ground, and you're burning yourself out, and you don't have anything left over for just not only the people that you're I wouldn't say necessarily responsible for, but you have a group of individuals who are counting on you, and you can't do that when you're flat on your face, because you've so said yes to everything. And I'm not suggesting that you say no all the time. I'm suggesting that you should say no when you feel as if everything is closing in around you and you have a lot going on. You really need to figure out what are the things that you could just let go and just say, I'm just not there anymore, Yeah. Because you got to make room for the things that you want to say yes to.
Yes. Yes. That's that hits me right in the heart. Yes, you have to, like, I think fear is just the worst thing that we let guide us.
Yes.
In so many arenas of our own lives, but
Mm-hmm.
just, you know, the fear of what people might think if we say no, the fear of leaving this particular job or committee or group, because what if I don't have what, it's the scarcity mindset. Like there's so many branches to this conversation that we definitely have to follow up with for sure. But
Yeah.
I think that's a really relevant point. And one of the things that I thought of as you were talking, because you were saying, you know, you have to know what is on your plate. You have to know what you're willing to sacrifice. Like you have to know where you want to keep protect those pockets of time for the things you want to do and the people that you love. It's like you were describing being the CEO of your own life.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Oh, yes.
No one else is going to be the CEO of your life. That's all you. You know, you can't.
And you get to. That the thing is, you get to.
Yes.
You know, especially if you really create the environment, you know, the right environment around you, you get to. And sometimes people are in places and spaces that other people are dictating what they do and how they design their life. Mm-hmm. And they may not be at the point that we were talking about here, but these are just some ideas maybe, or some thoughts, a different perspective to look into as you're in your journey. You know, who's in your ear?
Right. Yeah. So Rochelle, talk to us a little bit about, you used the phrase inner work. So what are some of the pieces to that for you that you've done? And do you think it has a direct correlation to you being able to keep your wellness a priority?
Oh, yes. So one of the things that I do every day, well, several things I'll share. When I get up, it's not an immediate roll downstairs and go to the gym and start working out. You know, there is a time, there's probably like the 5-minute time between transitioning, and I ask myself, how am I doing today? Mm-hmm. How do you feel? For whatever reason, something has happened in my life, because life is life, and y'all. If something has happened, then I look at it, I listen to a podcast, I look up an article, or I put on some music. I do something to kind of lift me up out of the mood, if you will, of where I'm at. And I think that's important, to do an evaluation of, like, how do you feel? How are you feeling? And don't dismiss that. Sometimes we just compartmentalize and we just say, oh, not now, not yet. You know, I'm going to wait till the end of the day, when everything else is going on. So, you know, that's one of just a method that I've been using here regularly, and it really helps. The other is journaling. I actually wrote my book out of journaling. I had, you know, been journaling for many years, but I decided when I was in my last position before I retired that I was going to really be intentional about writing out how I was feeling, what went on, what my response was, you know, ways that I could improve not only my thinking, because there's a lot of negativity out there. So I was like, I've got to be able to, you know, see how it affects me. So journaling is just one. I look back at a year's time and I look at my journal books and I go, oh my goodness, I came so far, you know, in the way that I used to view certain situations. So I think that's important. If you don't talk it out, at least write it out, you know, put it on paper, and then you can look back on it. And then community. Like, I surround myself with people who are like-minded. I have my board of directors, if you will, of people that I know I can call or text, and they will get it. They understand because they too think the same way. A lot of information, that's jumbling in our heads all the time. Some people just don't understand. They're like, you're a little bit crazy. You don't know like what you're even talking about. That you're not crazy. You're not, off. You just haven't found the right people to really communicate those feelings to. So I do that regularly. And it's very helpful.
It
But
sounds it sounds like you've established what I have been using a lot recently, and that is your non-negotiables.
Oh yeah.
These are the non-negotiables for my own wellness, for my own well-being, that I know serve me well. Yeah. And there's nothing that's going to knock me off from that. And so I use this analogy, and I'll share this here because there's been times in our career, I know for both of us, like, oh, we're going to keep some open space on the calendar because I'm going to go take a break or do PT or, work out, and then somehow it gets filled up, right? Like there's never a meeting on the boss's calendar that gets filled up with stuff I want to do, but there's always, right?
Yeah.
And so we just let it go. And it's like, okay, I'll just make up for that another time. Well, I think about it this way, and this is where you kind of have to flip your switch of what your non-negotiable is going to be. And it could be anything you want for your own care. But like if you were called into work early and the boss told you, I'm going to need you to get here and don't brush your teeth. You'd be like, well, that's not going to happen. Like, I'm for sure going to brush my teeth. Okay, boss,
Yeah.
And you would go do what you needed to do because it is an established non-negotiable in your life.
Yes.
When you make that same parallel to something you know is serving you well, like brushing your teeth is serving your hygiene and others around you. Right?
Make that known. Yeah.
Right. So, but when you make that known, so if I know that 5 minutes sitting in silence or a 10-minute meditation or journaling time is going to serve me and the people I love, it is a non-negotiable. No one is going to do anything that takes away from the time I've protected. Is that exactly kind of what you've done?
Yeah. And then when you make it known. So, I chose to get up in the morning because I'm a morning person. I chose to get up early because no one else is up at the time that I get up. So between, 4:30 and 5, it's changed since I've retired because I have a little bit more time on my hands. But if you are still working, I chose to do it in the morning. First, I got it out the way. I knew it's important for me to do. It sets a tone for the rest of the day on how I show up. And so we used to have these snow calls, if you will. So in my last position, it snowed there all the time. And snow calls were at 4:00 in the morning. Now, because
Really?
we have to determine whether or not, people are going to have 2-hour delay. We had to make sure that the snow crew had the people that they needed and to, plow out snow wherever, it affected mission. So it was a lot of discussion at 4:00 in the morning. Now, I work out, again, like I said, between 4 and 4:30. So if we had a snow call, I would be on the snow call. I had to provide input, but they would hear the treadmill or the spin bike in the background. And I tell them, this is my time. I'm listening and I will provide input, but you will hear, me working out. Everyone knew this. Like I didn't have to explain myself after that. Everyone knew that I was going about doing what I needed to do to show up for the team. And so, they would, acknowledge, and, I didn't have to explain myself.
And I find that most people will reciprocate your own energy
Mm-hmm.
in your assurance of like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
I'm sharing it with you. And most people are like, oh, hey, did anyone hear from Rochelle? What time is it? Oh, she's on the treadmill.
Exactly.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and the other thing too is our sleep hygiene, which is something in itself. I had two phones. Some of us have two phones. You know, and I tell them, in order for me to be my best, I need sleep. And if nothing, I mean, it has to be something like imminent, something for you to call me after 9:30. Now, I would give them a grace period between 9 and 9:30, but after 9:30, please, you know, shut off the noise. I'm not emailing you. I am not calling you. I'm not texting you. And respecting that, because people will bleed into that because you haven't spoken up and said it, or you're not showing it. And then before you know too long, you're at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning, answering emails, answering calls.
Oh, Rochelle, I'm so fired up. I'm so fired up because I think that, well, you're saying boundaries. You set your boundaries and communicate them.
Mm-hmm.
And in an ideal world, yeah, we would love our bosses and the organization we work for to have these standard practices of like, nobody bothers anybody after the duty day or whatever. But that's not reality for a lot of people. What is a reality is the choice you make in the boundary you set and you hold people to. Like, that is totally within your control. It's the fear of what they might think, the fear of being seen as a certain thing that keeps us from doing that, right?
Yeah.
But it's still a choice.
It's, what's most important to you. Like, really figure out what is most important to you and those non-negotiable that you're not going to sway from, regardless of what's going on around you. So, my top three is health, family, and faith. If any of those three areas in my life are compromised in any way by whatever's going on, that's my cue to step in and show up for myself with my voice and to communicate how if I do X, whatever it is that affects these three areas, I am not going to, even deal with myself. I can't do that. I can't do that, and here is why. And I think most people will have an understanding. You just have to communicate that and demonstrate it. So if your son, daughter calls up, I had this happen many a times. I played single parent for some time. My husband was deployed and he went TDY, and I'm in these highly coveted leadership roles too. And I just speak up and say, hey, I'm going to be a single parent, if you will, for the next 2 weeks. All right. Or the next 6 months, whatever that case may be. Here is what I'm going to need. First of all, these meetings that occur at 5:30, they were going to have to be cut off short, or I'm going to have to leave because the CDC, the Child Development Center, for our viewers who are not familiar with that, it closes at 6 p.m. And I have to go pick myself. So, but if we don't say that, here we are at 5:59, trying to close up a conversation, and then you show up for your child late. And then if your child is of age that they understand, they will let you know. Well, where were you? I mean, I'm the last child being picked up.
Yeah, I always appreciated that when, because also give the benefit of the doubt to people in leadership positions too. Like, there's a lot going on. And so I think that it's a two-way street. Like, I would rely on folks to say, hey, is it okay? Like, reminder, this closes, or, I got to get out of here by this. I got a baseball game to go watch for my son. I loved that. Like, oh yeah, that's right.
Even putting it on the calendar.
Yes.
I would put it on the calendar and show it to my supervisors and my boss, when you can get to a certain level, because not everybody's at that leadership level, but I would put it on my calendar, and then I would openly share, hey, here's what I got going on. And so they're looking for you, trying to figure out what you're doing, where you're going. It's been on the calendar because this is important to me. This is important to my family. This is important for me to come to work, knowing what the energy that I'm putting in. I'm doing a little bit more maybe today because this is what's going on for me here. So, we have to speak up. We have to be able to share. Because like you said, there's people can't read your mind. They don't know what exactly is going on. But if you're a little bit more open and transparent, they'll reciprocate that for you as well. Because they probably got stuff, I'm sure, a lot going on too, right?
And back to what you said, embody it. Because by you embodying that, that's an example for other people. And it actually will be the change we want to see out in the workforce.
Yeah. It gives them permission.
Yeah.
It gives them permission to do it. Yeah. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared to show that you have a life too, right? And, it's just not about my professional life. My personal life is important. It's probably more important than this professional life right now.
Yes.
So, but I like giving people permission.
Yes. And I think the personal life to me, like that is the most important aspect of my living. And I think that becomes really clear going back to what you said about doing the inner work and whatever that looks like for you. There's so many resources out there to help you figure out the first steps. But even if it's just like writing down one sentence a day about how you feel, it could start with the smallest effort. And then snowball, and you'll start on this journey of self-discovery and finding out what you're more comfortable saying and standing in your truth. And like, that's really what happened for me. And it's so much easier for me to communicate my everything.
Yes.
At this point. So I think this is just like this, the conversation in and of itself has been a huge reaffirming discussion for me, because even when it clicks, sometimes distractions and life's noise could get in the way. So it's important to surround yourself with people, like you said, that are on the same journey of, that you're on, in the sense of the wellness and the well-being and making yourself a priority, because you need those little, hey, like I'll quick call Rochelle and be like, hey, this is where I'm at. And I know you'll come back with, Mary, we don't do that anymore.
We don't do that. That was our old self, and our old self just needs to be where it's at. We're
yes. So okay. So really great. I want to make sure just to kind of hear from you before we talk about where folks could find you. What's something that you want the listener to walk away with, that you can kind of like just hit home for them?
So we talked about it a little bit earlier in our conversation about the different elements of wellness. And typically we do just go to the spiritual, the social, the physical, and the emotional, which is all great, and that is a start. But I really started looking into some other elements, some other areas of my life that I really needed to get a better assessment of, which is financial wellness, environmental wellness, intellectual wellness, and occupational wellness. Occupational wellness, I'll go back up so that way you know exactly what I'm speaking to. With occupational wellness is about finding meaningful purpose and joy in what you're doing. And if that's at work, finding the task or the projects or the assignments that are you're most connected to, the most passionate about, because those are the things that are going to keep you going, over time. Maybe it is the thing that gets you over the hump for where you're feeling like you're in this stagnant place, or, you're not feeling as if you're progressing in the work you do. I think most people are really striving to find meaningful connection and joy and purpose and fulfillment in their work. So once you do discover that, it's incredible how you can achieve most anything, even in some not so favorable conditions that you're working in. The environmental wellness is about just people, places, and things that that you attach yourself to. So where are you putting a lot of your energy to? Like, or what places are you visiting? What are you listening to? Who is providing some counsel and advice to you? I mean, that's all in that environmental wellness category. Finance, and managing, because you want money to work for you, right? And I know that sometimes we don't see it as that, or we're not quite comfortable with even, figuring out what money looks like, it should do, right? So we have to be a little bit more comfortable with managing our money, because money problems can certainly turn into snowball effect of anxiety and stress and all those things. And COVID has made it even more difficult for some of our viewers, as I know. So trying your best to really discover how do you look at money. And then, of course, the intellectual is, being a learner, a constant learner of new things every single day. Like in this space already on this channel, I've already learned several things about you, Mary, that I didn't know previous, and talking through some of the topics that we have. But you have to be constantly fighting, to learn and grow and stretch, and challenge yourself outside of what you already know. And so if you can practice, anything in those 4 categories, it helps you to improve your life in so many other different areas. And lastly, what I'll say is it's all about mindset. We sometimes say, we're not capable of doing the impossible. Our dreams are just too big, and there's no one who's going to get that. I have these great grandiose little things about my life that I want to do. And so we have to change into a positive mental attitude and looking at what if you do, what if you take on this challenge, you never know. So pushing ourselves out of our normal thinking, our normal habits of what we have done, and finding something new to challenge us. Like, I am just blown away by what people can do. I am. So we have to continue to have these types of discussions and really stopping and doing an evaluation of you. Do an evaluation of you every single day. It's not selfish. Right? It's not selfish to do that.
Yeah, that's so good. The introduction of those 4 different categories, I think, are just critical. So important. When you said about changing the mindset, the what if is always gone to the negative.
Mm-hmm.
What if we change that to, instead of what if this fails, if you said, what if this is everything I ever wanted?
Yes.
What if this changes lives? What if this has a greater impact than I even know? Like, go there first, go to that mindset first, because it really does change everything.
Yes.
I appreciate that so much. And I appreciate you. And I thank you so much for spending your time and your energy here with us today.
I would not change this for a thing. You know that. Mary,
so
right?
Thank
Mary is just absolutely just an amazing human being. And that's really what this is all about. It's connecting with others that understand you, know you, and we're sisters till the end. We've always been soul sisters since the day that we met. So it's just an absolutely wonderful to see your journey and to be able to share just a little bit of how to live well in this world that we're living in today.
Likewise. Thank you so much. And thanks for coming here with us. Thanks for being here with us.
Absolutely.
I forgot, everyone. I know this is like a running thing for me. She mentioned her book. Rochelle is also an author. And look, I have it right here. Boom.
I know. I was so like, wow, it's there. Yeah.
Yes. So if
I talk about my journey in the Air Force, and I talk about the sleigh, and why it's important to have something. Like, it's my mantra, or my, words of affirmation, if you will, for my life, and how important and how it could be used to elevate you into different places in your life. So, I've been on this journey. It is just absolutely amazing to see where I came from and where I'm at today. But yeah, that can be found on Amazon. You can go, there's a link that you can tap on there. You can go to my website, www.slaytosuccess.com, and you can find out more about this community, find out about why I decided to make this a business, and I'll put business in air quotes because it's not really a business, it's a movement. I can be accessible through email, and so I know that Mary can put that in there for you as well. So I am open and willing to share whatever it is that you will need to take on your next journey in your life.
All right, you're hired as my right hand when I'm closing out, folks, because you did all the things. So yes, everything is in the description box below, so check it out. But thank you so much, Rochelle, for joining us.
Absolutely. This is great. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks. Well, again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Don't forget, below this video, there's a description box. You can expand that, and you can find out all the information you need to know about how to contact Rochelle, how to pick up her book. There's links for that. It's all below. Check it out. We're so grateful that you joined us for this conversation. I hope you got as much out of it as I did. Until we see you again, remember, be well and live well.